Within the past century, our technology has advanced to extraordinary levels. 100 years ago, the idea that we would reach the moon was nothing more than a fantasy. Yet now it is a fact of our everyday existence. With every single day we, as a united species, come closer to laying claim on other planets in our solar system and to exploring more space to see what is truly lurking out there just beyond our reach. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be looking at 3 scientific announcements and discoveries. The disappearance of Mel Wily. Police Chief Mel Wily was last seen on July 27, 1985, on a date with his girlfriend in Hinckley Township, a suburb of Cleveland. His car was found on July 30th at Lakefront State Park on Lake Erie in Cleveland, Ohio. Police performed a thorough search of the area and found no sign of Wily. After searching his car, which was still locked, they found his wallet with $15 in cash, his police ID and badge, some sunscreen, a pack of cigarettes, and a beach towel. After performing an investigation among Wily's friends, family, and co-workers, authorities ruled out the possibility of foul play. Wily left work early a lot and seemed moody in the weeks before his disappearance. His friends believed that he had grown tired of his job but did not think anything of it. He had always wanted to retire at 50, so he could write full-time, but he ended up disappearing 3 years before retirement. In his spare time, Wily wrote poetry and was a thriller mystery novelist. Before his disappearance, he was writing a novel about a homicide in Pennsylvania that he often spoke of to anyone that would listen. When police entered Wily's home, it was spotless, and he had also left several days of food and water out for his 2 cats. After an extensive search through his belongings, his thriller manuscript was nowhere to be found. Other missing things were stamps, envelopes, his music collection, typewriter paper, and an address book. Most of his long-sleeve shirts were missing, which he frequently wore to cover the burns on his arms that he had suffered while serving in the military. The only thing left in his fridge was a jar of mayonnaise. The police later found out that his desk at the police station was empty as well, except for a key to his apartment. At this point, it was as if Wily had merely vanished into thin air. But after picking up his dry cleaning, police found the first of many strange clues. Located in the pocket of his police uniform were bus schedules from Cleveland to San Francisco. Wily had written a letter to a female friend before his disappearance. He had expressed that he wanted to disappear and was tired of his life in Hinckley. The letter stated that he would be 2,500 miles away when his friend would receive his letter, roughly the distance between Cleveland and San Francisco. Police were able to decipher the letter by looking at the ribbon on his office typewriter. Investigators were never able to track down the original letter, and it appears that the friend never received it. As a police chief, Mel had access to all he would need to form a new identity directly at his fingertips. With access to a database of fingerprints and social security information, it is entirely possible that Mel leveraged his years in law enforcement to facilitate his disappearance. With his military background and several years in law enforcement, he would also know how to stay off the radar. Mel was the only suspect in his own case. He was declared legally deceased in 1993 per Ohio law, once he had been missing for 5 years. Mel could very well be enjoying his remaining years writing poetry and novels on the West Coast today. Having a passion for writing mysteries, Wily's most tremendous story appears to have been the one of his own disappearance. The Mystery of Sandy Island. Sandy Island is a small island near Australia that has been drawn on chart maps for over 100 years. The only problem is that it does not exist. Located near New Caledonia, in the southwest Pacific Ocean, Sandy Island was supposedly situated somewhere between the Chesterfield Islands and the Nereus Reef in the Coral Sea off Australia's northeast coast. It first appeared on maps in the late 1700s until it was semi-removed in the mid-1970s. Nearly 40 years later, it was once again brought up in conversation as an Australian research ship finally resolved the mystery and provided proof that it was non-existent. The island was quickly removed from all maps and datasets in 2012. In 1774, Captain James Cook of the British Royal Navy explored the French territories in the South Pacific. He charted the island just off the archipelago New Caledonia, labelling it Sandy 1. Although Cook managed to chart the Grand Terre Reef quite accurately despite his era and technique, he was incorrect about Sandy Island. Nothing is there. Interestingly enough, though, the island was reported by other ships 100 years later. From 1870 through the 1890s, the fictitious island was included in various Navy maps and listed in the Australian Maritime Directory. The nearest islands are the Chesterfield Islands, which sit about 100 kilometres or 62 miles westward of the original location. Historians do not know whether these cartographers and sailors were trying to correct Captain Cook's mapping, as they share the same island name, yet are positioned a few hundred miles further west than his. In the 1970s, the island became such a hot topic that the Australian Hydrographic Service, or AHS, mapped the sea floor and measured the water depth to find the island. They were unable to find any shallow depths to indicate potential islands or reefs. They even flew over it and found nothing. In 1974, Sandy Island was officially removed from the hydrographic charts by the French Hydrographic Service. Despite this discovery, Sandy Island stayed on many bathymetry compilations for another 30 years because it was already included on the digital formats of maps by the US National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, or NGA, which is used as a standard coastline dataset worldwide. In November 2012, the Australian research ship RV Southern Surveyor sailed through the area where Sandy Island was supposed to be and debunked this mystery. They were studying plate tectonics and noticed that they had various differing maps and decided to investigate. They found no depths shallower than 1,300 meters below sea level or any indication of an island. What they did find, though, were floating pumice sea rafts. Pumice ejected from underwater volcanoes float together in rafts on the ocean's surface and are easily mistaken for islands. A volcano study near Tonga showed that pumice rafts travelled over 3,000 kilometres, or 1,864 miles west, due to the wind and currents. These rafts ended up within 20 kilometres, or 12.4 miles, of the suspected Sandy Island's location, suggesting that the ships in the 18th and 19th centuries saw pumice, not islands. The island was incorrectly mapped for over a century, even managing to make it onto digital maps in 2010. The location was even listed on Google Maps, although it only appeared as a dark pixelated space. After the research ship undiscovered the island in 2012, the National Geographic Society officially removed Sandy Island from its maps. Medieval drilled skull. In today's world, anyone with a disability can get access to treatment and support to help them in their challenges. However, this was not the same in the ancient days. To those in the Middle Ages, anyone with a deformity of sorts was suspected to be evil and plagued by spirits. This was no more apparent than the case of the medieval male skeleton that was found in the English countryside. His lower jaw on the left side had been deformed before his bones could fully fuse as a child. That in turn would distort his face, which might have been scary looking to any people he encountered. Accused of harbouring evil spirits, the man with the facial deformity likely passed away in his 30s and was buried without his right hand or several foot bones. In the case of the missing limbs, it was most likely due to several visits grave robbers took to his remains. However, the most notable thing about his skeleton was that his skull had been trepanned. In other words, drilled through, perhaps to relieve his pain or to exorcise the bad spirits. Thankfully, he survived, and his bone area had healed, but that did little to fully relieve his community that he was entirely pure. In the end, he was buried in a lonely place without a coffin. Instead of facing up, he was buried face down and even had stones pressed on top of his body, despite the dirt covering him from above. Most likely, the townspeople wanted to ensure that he never rose from the grave and that all his evil troubles were kept as far away as possible. Due to this treatment, it is easy to wonder what type of life this man might have led. Perhaps it is even more intriguing to wonder how such a drilling procedure would have taken place back in the Middle Ages. No matter what strikes your curiosity about this case, there is no doubt about it that it is full of mystery and wonder. At the end of the day, only one thing is for sure. People in the Middle Ages were obsessed with witches and evil spirits. But what do you make of these recent findings? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.